I think you need light, Daniel.
Right. Hello and welcome to our very first session of the Back to Basics series, a virtual instrumental hangout series by the Band Lab, where today we talk about all things clarinet. All right, today on our panel we have two distinguished guests, Daniel Yiau and Gena, both whom are conductors and avid players of the clarinet. You can find out more about them through the link in the comment section below. All right, so without further ado, let's get this session started. So the first issue that we can touch on is actually understanding the types of clarinets that we have in the standard clarinet family in a band setting. So can you guys explain a bit about the different types of clarinets that you can find in the band setting?
Gena?
Okay, I think the most common with that we all know, right, would be the B flat clarinet. So that's standard lah. We have the first, second, third clarinet part. Then if your band, then followed by the bass clarinet, which is also pretty common, I guess, that Daniel has there. Yeah, and then if your band has more luxury, then you will find the E flat clarinet, which Daniel will show. That's the size difference between the B flat and the E flat. Okay, so and then another instrument that we both don't have now is the alto clarinet. And if your band even have more, then you will also get the contrabass clarinet, which we also don't have to show you.
Yeah.
It's a really, really big clarinet. All right, thank you for that. Let's find out how one usually set up a clarinet. What are standard procedures involved in that?
So what I usually do, or with my students, we always set up from the bells up. And I'm just wondering if there's anyone who actually assembles it differently. Yeah, so for me, first the bell and then the lower joint. And really be careful of the keys. So if whenever possible, just avoid pressing anything. And then you just push it down. Usually you should just push down. You don't have to keep turning. If you have to keep turning, either you need some cork grease or actually the caulking is too tight. So you might need to adjust.
Will your hand suddenly slip and then knock into the...
If you're worried, you can actually press down the keys on the side and then you just slot it in. Yeah. And then from the top joint, you also press the keys with your left hand so that you actually, there's a lever on the side. Yeah, so you want them to match on both sides. Yeah, so you open up and same thing, just push, it should also fit. Yeah, and then make sure that the sides are fitting. Yeah, and then adjust. Because there's like a line here and then you'll meet. Yeah. And then same thing for barrel, just put on and twist it down. Or you can just press it down as well. It's really easy. That's it. Yeah, mouthpiece as well. Same thing. Push. Yeah, so there's actually very little twisting, which you see quite often when people set up. And that's where you actually hum the keys and then things go out of alignment. Yeah. Yeah. So this is something that people don't usually talk about, but it's very important. Yeah.
Would you recommend students to set up their mouthpiece with the reed and ligature first, or only after you set up the whole clarinet?
Leave the reed to the end. So you put the mouthpiece first, and then you put the reed on. Yeah.
Anything else to add? Gena, or you think? Sorry.
I think I also set up from a bottom up. But the thing is, sometimes it does get like a bit tight, right? I don't twist lah, but I just you do this like left right action in and out.
Yeah.
When you dismantle, because sometimes people get nervous, right?
You
just yeah, and you don't have to really push. You just apply a bit of pressure and then left right in, and then it will fit.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Supposedly.
All right, so that's the setup for clarinet. Now let's talk about choosing the right reed and breaking the reed in. What kind of reeds do you guys use? Cane reeds?
Yes, cane reeds.
Yes, canes.
I use synthetic reeds only for contrabass clarinet because I find that the cane reeds for contrabass don't work so well. Yeah, and yeah, I'm a firm advocate for cane, but if you can find good synthetic pieces, go ahead. Yeah, and try not to just live on one synthetic reed because the plastic will wear off anyway. Yeah. So have a few pieces.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I was really using synthetic rigs for like a good few years. Then I didn't change. But then I realized that it's really very consistent. Like no matter how you play, no matter when you play, right, it's always the same. But there's also a limitation to it. Like you can't do much after a while. You realize that sometimes it feels like the sound is too clear. Then it's like there's no depth in the sound after a while. Even if I change different synthetic reeds, it still doesn't work as well as cane reed. So in the end, I switched back to cane. Then I use it like alternatively when I want it. But for my individual practice, I'll use synthetic. Whenever if I feel like it, just yeah.
But for band students, would you recommend synthetic or cane?
Because ultimately, I think a lot of bands, they think, oh, if I buy one synthetic reed, then I don't have to buy reeds for the kids anymore. Yeah, and then you pass on to the next generation of kids. I will say if you want to have a few pieces, don't just stick to one. And it's a bit gross if you pass on to generations of clarinetists.
Definitely.
So either have a few pieces for each student or just buy cane because the price for a synthetic reed can buy a box of 10. Yeah, cane, and then you can rotate them more. Yeah.
And for the younger kids, the chances are they break the plastic reed very fast.
That's true.
So mishandling is like another thing also. Yeah.
So what kind of qualities do you guys look out for in like when you're choosing a reed? Like a cane reed, say, do you go for any specific brands or any specific sounds?
I mix a few brands. So the most common, of course, is Van Doren. And then I also use D'Addario and different strengths. Yeah, for different mouthpieces. And even with the different ligatures, it will play differently. Yeah, and cane, because it's a living piece. Yeah, it changes with humidity or heat and whatever. Yeah,
that's true.
So you need to have a wide range of cane reeds as well, just to play around.
So you do recommend students to actually have like more than one reed at each time, right?
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, and especially if you have new reeds, try not to play on the new reeds for too long right at the beginning. Yeah, so this is where the breaking in comes. I know online there's a lot of resources where you see people soaking in the water and then they'll break it in and then season it. I think it's too tedious a process. It might work for some people, but yeah, like if you're a band kid, you don't have time. Yeah, just open up from the case, just wet it and play. That's it. Yeah. So yeah, the longevity of the reeds really depends on how you use the reeds. Yeah. Because if you're going to be playing outdoors, like in a lot of marching bands, if you're going to play for 6-7 hours a day, the reed is going to die.
Yeah.
After 1 week. Yeah. Yeah, so just rotate your reeds because I can survive on one box of reed for a few months. Yeah.
So
it should be possible.
So in the sense of like the process of breaking reeds in, you would take out like a brand new reed. Would you play on it for one session or like 5 minutes and then change to something else?
Yeah, maybe I'll warm up and play some simple pieces and then I'll keep it and then I'll use my old reeds. And then the next day you extend
the timing.
So the reed gets used to being played. Yeah, because it's been in the vacuum pack for so long.
Yeah, that's true. Is it the same process for you, Gena?
Yeah. I do the same thing also. I also don't soak my reeds. But then I also, like when I wet it, I wet the top and the bottom part of the reed.
Oh, is there a reason why?
Just do the top.
Yeah.
Because like, it's still after a plant, right? And then they have this like, I don't know if you can see, I forgot what this called. Okay? This
like the whole
this part, this is where it absorbs water and moisture. So if you always moist your top, right, then the bottom also don't get. So it becomes very. I feel there's a slight difference. Like it becomes uneven when I play. So I will try to like, wet the top and the bottom just very quickly and then just play. Yeah.
So without putting into like any water source, right? It's like through just with your saliva.
Just like
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds quite gross, but
No, that's just how we do it in band anyway.
Yeah. It's a job hazard.
Yeah. So after breaking in the reeds, after a practice session, how should we store the reeds to make sure that it lasts, as long as it can?
There are many ways to store your reeds. So usually it comes in these sleeves, right?
Yeah.
So you just put it in and put from the base first, and then you slot it in. Yeah.
That's a good tip.
Or yeah, please, don't put the tip in. So always from bottom up. Yeah. Or you also have like reed cases like this, where you just slot in. Or also reed cases like this, where you can put the reed. Yeah.
That's a lot of
So
reeds.
whatever you do, don't just throw the reed into your case. Yeah, because it needs a flat surface to support, or the reed will warp, so it's not going to be flat anymore. So a lot of times you'll see the reeds, the tip, that they're not straight, they're like wavy. Yeah, it's because it's not stopped properly.
I know some places they do recommend like, after you play a reed, right? Then you put it on a flat surface and then you like
Yeah.
push on the top of it so they make sure it's flat.
Whatever.
Do you do that as well? Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I do.
Whatever works.
Like especially for old reeds. Yeah, that can really help to give some life. Yeah.
All right. What about what do you think about like storing reeds in like a Ziploc bag?
No,
not a good idea.
yeah, not a good idea. Because like if you don't wash your reeds, then all the residual saliva is on your reed. And then it's just fermenting in the bag. Yeah.
Okay, that
And
explains.
especially, if you leave it, unless you play every day, then maybe you can go ahead. Because it keeps the humidity in. But if you're going to leave it for a month, it might come back to become a moldy pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now let's talk about posture. How about let's start with Gena first because you have a B flat clarinet, right? And then Danielle can demonstrate on the bass clarinet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to show us like what is the proper posture probably when you're standing and when you're sitting? How do you when you play a clarinet?
Okay. So when you're sitting, right, always remember feet must be flat on the ground. Because we have a lot of people having like very weird way of putting their legs. Because you get too comfortable, right? So when you put both feet on the ground flat, then naturally you're also sitting like almost like half the chair. So your back will be straight. But then of course some people will say, back straight and everything. But sometimes when it's too straight, right, it becomes very rigid. Then you see your chin start to face up instead. So best is to have a relaxed back, but it's still comfortable. So when you are playing, it pushes properly for the diaphragm. Yeah, then next thing, then we also have a lot of common problems. Like we always have kids with their elbows. I don't know why they're so lazy, but they just basically when they're playing clarinet, they will like lean their elbows to their thigh.
Oh.
And I don't know how they do that. So
I
I don't know if you can see. Like they basically do this.
It's too heavy.
And I do have kids who are like that. And then they complain, I can't really play. And you must remember, like from our back, right? If it's not too much, then the air gets affected and everything. So always keep it straight as you can. No, as in not as straight as you can, but like comfortable, relaxed back.
Oh, okay. What about the angle?
In a neutral spine position.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Angle.
not overly straight as well.
Yeah.
Just normal. Yeah.
The one is only if you are in marching band, then you need to.
Yeah. What about the playing angle? The angle, because I know like if you put it too low or too high, you don't get the best sound because you're restricting the vibration of the reed.
Yeah.
For me, I try to tell my kids like about 45 degrees from your chin, but you got to make sure that try and make sure your chin is flat. So if it's, I don't know if you can see, if this way, I don't know if you can see or not. Yeah. Because some of us, you see, if it's this, our mouth, right? If we go too high up, it affects how we breathe, and it affects how our air comes through. It affects the tone also. For example, like. So too low also not good, too high also not good. So I always tell my kids like 45 degrees is easy enough to gauge and visualize. But visualize. Yeah.
Or you can even just do this exercise and find where the optimal
Oh yeah.
position is here. So if you sit neutral and you just play the open G and you adjust. Yeah, so it's always around this region, around your knees. Yeah, and like for a lot of you who are in marching bands, a lot of times you like to play like that. And then the sound is, yeah. So
Oh,
if
yeah,
you
that's
want,
nice.
you should actually adjust as a whole unit. So yeah, so ideally it should move with your head as well. Yeah, not just the angle of the clarinet. It might look better, but it's not going to sound better.
Fair point. All right.
Well, I
Well,
want to emphasize on one more
yeah.
thing, sorry.
No, it's
I
okay.
also have a lot of like members, right, who likes to play with their bells in their thigh. So basically, they're just like squeezing the bell in their thigh and then they play. I don't know, for support lah, because you cannot move your clarinet if it's on the, you keep it in your thighs.
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, then the sound gets stuffy and
Yeah.
then everything gets affected. So I always try to ask them to, you want to lean on it, it's okay, but then don't make sure that nothing is covering it and yeah.
Yeah.
But it's mostly the case for like younger students, right? Where they feel like the clarinet's heavy and then start having like pain here.
Okay lah, I mean the older people also.
Oh, also got it.
You know, sometimes we get like complacent, then we just like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it
fair point.
happens.
All right. Well, then what about the bass clarinet? I know it has a slightly different
Yeah.
mechanism.
So
like
actually,
it has
if
like
you-
yeah.
If you look at the bass clarinet, it's already a fixed angle. There's nothing you can do. Yeah, so ideally, my advice, if whoever is playing bass clarinet and is watching this, your bass should either be straight or tilting forward.
Forward.
Because if you do the other way, like this, then it totally changes the way you play. Yeah, so if you're doing like that, the angle is already the same. So from the side, or if you do it, you see the difference. Yeah, yeah. And if you're too small, you should sit on like a double chair or triple chair even. Yeah, because a lot of times it's at this angle because you're too small to play. Yeah, so they're compensating because it's very long.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to compensate, either tilt it down and sit a double chair, or yeah.
You can only make yourself taller, right?
Yeah. Or because
Okay.
like this goes to the low C, so it's relatively longer, but in a lot of bands there's like a shorter version which goes to low E flat.
Yeah.
So I mean if the bass clarinet pack is not long enough, then maybe put on the strap and play like a saxophone. Yeah. Because that will ensure the angle. Yeah, rather than sitting like that to play.
Yeah, and then you have like back problems and stuff.
Yeah.
Not a good idea. All right, so we've talked about setting up the instrument and what's your playing posture. Now let's talk about starting your first sound. But before that, maybe we want to talk a bit about breathing and air support. I think that's one of the hardest thing to teach. Yeah.
How would you, as a wind player yourself?
How will I teach breathing? Is that what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of time they don't understand. I think students probably don't understand the feeling of taking in like breath and then supporting that consistent stream of air through the instrument. So we do a lot of breathing exercises and like things that they can try to simulate. So like maybe like just sitting like on the 1/3 like in front of your like your chair, and then you breathe in and then you leave your legs so that it's not touching the floor. And then you feel like your stomach's like sort of contracting. Yeah. Or like sometimes people say things like imagine you're having constipation, or like just try to shout internally very loud. Like and then you feel like
Okay, but all this actually gives a little bit of tension.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it's unnecessary tension. One simple exercise is you just sit on your chair and you fall down. And then you just breathe in.
Yeah, we do that as well.
Yeah, and then you'll feel it's coming from here. Yeah. So that's really all I will talk about breathing. Because actually for me, when I play clarinet, I don't breathe so low.
Oh yeah,
I'm
me.
actually only breathing chest level. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you,
Because-
Gina? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Any tips and tricks you have for your students?
I think for kids, sometimes it's easier for them to visualize because sometimes when we explain, then they can't really see of it. So I always try to point like for them to find. I wouldn't say the diaphragm, but there's a point like it's just slightly above your stomach between your lungs. There's this point. So I get them. Okay, then I'll get them to like just visualize like breathing into this and then out slowly first, and then taking in as much air as possible. Just open your mouth and then breathe. Because sometimes you, like when they breathe too little and everything, a lot of them are going through their nose. And then sometimes they are breathing too deep, too fast. So they just end up like really have a lot of tension here. So I think for a start, always it's better to ask them to do it slowly first and then to visualize going in and then blowing out. And another thing is for them to do it slowly. Maybe you can always tell them like you want to blow out hot air, so you will do it slowly, right? And like if you're trying to keep yourself warm, then you will do, yeah. So I always try to do slowly first, and then after that we gradually increase because as we play, then we realize that the SP need to be faster. Then we just use that to change. Yeah.
All right. Does it work with like younger kids, like really like primary school level kids?
Yeah, primary school.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to make them stand and be as active as possible. The kids, if you're gonna sit down there and tell them, okay, let's do this breathing exercise, they are just gonna be like, oh, they're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Like little. So
Very
it's always
restless
good
and
to and then in your exercises that you're gonna do, you also go through tempo with them and then try to incorporate more theory things into the breathing exercise. So when they are playing the instruments, they can also like sort of multitask and not just like focus on breathing, and then they have to think how to count and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think sometimes like we as educators we tend to complicate stuff like in terms of like teaching, like you know how when you walk nobody teaches you how to like put your heel forward first and then like move your like sole and whatever, like it's just a natural process, but then because we try to break it down too much for them that it becomes a really complicated process.
Too complicated. Yeah. Because it's like if you have like now bubble tea is all the rage. Yeah. So imagine if you're breathing through the bubble tea straw versus like if you have a thinner straw, it's a different pressure always. Yeah. So always imagine you're breathing through like a bubble tea straw. Yeah. That really helps. Yeah. Or you can like really exhale all your air, and then when you're at the point, if the air wants to come in anyway, so if you're all exhaling, and then you try to breathe, instead of like, and then you feel this tension.
Yeah, definitely.
Always keep open. Yeah.
All right. Okay. What about so taking in air is one thing. Like when we're releasing the air, it has to be at sort of like understanding how much air you have to use and how to spread out the air as you play a certain phrase, right? So how do you train your students to be able to have that air support? Because otherwise it's just like they can take in a lot of air, but like a balloon, they just all the air just
So with the balloon, if it's full, and you hold the tip of the balloon and you press, you just slowly release the tip, and then the air will flow out.
Correct.
It should be like that instead of just releasing everything, and then the balloon flies. Yeah, so it needs a full capacity through a small opening. Yeah.
So that would be the visualization, right?
Yeah.
But have you faced students where they understand what you're saying, but when they try to like try to push the air out, suddenly it's like the body becomes really tense and the air just doesn't flow out. So it just gets stuck.
Actually, usually it's the reverse. There's too much air coming out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know with Gena if you see that too often.
My kids are mostly the air come out too much.
Yeah.
They can't. They just finish the air within like 2 counts. Then you be like,
Yeah. So there's no sustainability to do it. Yeah.
So what is the way to go about teaching, like is it like a daily exercise that strengthens your muscles, or they're just not even about skills?
Yeah. So if you should be able to play an octave with one breath.
Up and down?
Yeah. If possible, up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with one breath, let's say every beat is 60, quartet 60. You should be able to play one octave up with one breath. Yeah. And then one octave down. Ideally, you should be able to do, yeah.
So for students who are not able to do that, like maybe from the start, what kind of exercises, like besides, so, okay, asking them to play a scale is giving them a target to reach for, right? So they're just supposed to push all the way until as far as they can, and then next day
as far
even
as
more.
Can, yeah. Because we are training for like a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need to do the daily exercises to build the muscle, especially for beginners. Yeah, and at the beginning, try not to limit them. If however long they can play, just let them go, especially for young kids. You should always encourage them. Yeah, the longer they can go, like you make them compete with each other. Oh, who can play the longest note? Yeah, and then eventually everybody will push their limits. But of course, through this competition, eliminate the stress and tension. You should always be relaxed. Yeah.
That's the one thing that's that's not easy to do, because we always tend to find tension somewhere else, like it's either through the finger, the arms, the back, everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, another thing for breathing, right, is to not raise up your shoulders when you're breathing, because sometimes you ask them to breathe, then they will just, you know what I mean? So you just always try to keep them relaxed and then just breathe. And I also do breathing exercise that I break down into like you breathe in one count and then blow out 4, then 1 1 1 8, and then like breathe in slowly, like 4 8 4, so and so forth, like in the set. So I always do it at the start of my session. So when they play, it becomes easier for them to be able to do it on the instrument also.
Because they used to it over time. Yeah, that's a good idea. So breathing exercises are important, guys.
Yes.
All right. So now,
especially if you're in a marching band.
Oh.
Yeah, because then you have to do choreography and your displays. Yeah.
And then you'll be like really tired and.
Yeah, even more you have to learn how to do your breathing. Yeah. So
did you say for
directors
clarinet
out there, please do your breathing exercises. Yeah.
As in, how deep do you breathe usually? Like, do you breathe more for marching band?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Even just to stand to play, it requires a bit more breath. Because suddenly your body is taking energy to keep standing. If not, you topple over.
Yeah.
So then you need to control that.
Yeah. All right. Now let's talk about starting your first sound on the clarinet. What is the embouchure and the tone that you're aiming? Maybe in your first few practice sessions, what kind of expectations should a band director have, or like a senior leader should have for a beginner?
Expectation. Like what kind of sound that we expect?
So like, okay, this is this kind of sound that you get from a professional and a student who has been playing for 5 years versus a student who has been playing for maybe like five classes. Because I think a lot of student leaders or band directors tend to expect, someone to progress really quickly, but to lay down like reality and expectations. What kind of like the student, what should they be aiming for? They can be aiming high, but it should be realistic as well, right? To get a really good tone. So what what do you guys say about having a good tone maybe in the first month of being in band? What is considered like you making progress?
Yeah. Well, if you're only playing once a week and after a month, what do you expect? Yeah, what do you expect to get out of this? Yeah. So like I mentioned earlier, we are training for a marathon. So you really need to train the muscles especially. Yeah, for me, embouchure, I really don't emphasize much besides keeping the upper teeth on the mouthpiece and sealing. Like at the beginning, that's the most basic. And if you just have your barrel and mouthpiece, then we do like a crowing exercise. So it's always upper teeth, and then you just seal, and then you just blow. Upper teeth, seal. And if you can sustain a long tone, that would be the best. Of course, it's not the best sound. Yep. So from there, then you build the foundations. You already have the foundation. Now you just power on it. Yeah, so then after that we can tweak it a little. Like if you see too much tension on the right, and then immediately the sound changes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things you can do. Yeah, and how to adjust, it really needs a bit more one-to-one. Yeah, like we can't just talk like specifics across the Zoom session like this.
Yeah.
We need to see like if you have the teeth structure, or your jaw structures and whatever. Even your setup, your mouthpiece and reed might not be set up properly. Yeah, or it's just the reed not working or whatever. There's too many factors to consider.
Definitely. Yeah. What about Gena?
I think one thing sometimes when I check, right, is like Daniel, we use the mouthpiece and barrel. So if you have a senior who's trying to help their juniors, we should have the luxury because you have more people, right?
Yeah.
So I will use a tuner to check the grip of the kid on their mouthpiece, and ideally mouthpiece and barrel, right? You should get a concert F sharp tune. So if it's sharp, then it's too tight, and then if it's flat, then it's too there's no grip, not enough grip. So use that to roughly ask them to aim and try to hit right middle. Most of the time it's just like hit and miss and everything. So ask them to remember this, and then after that you try again. Ask them to start the note again and again a few times, and then after that they'll get used to it because they will adjust on their own. I tend not to on the first session unless they are struggling a lot. Then I would start to change more things. If not, when it's like some of the kids, some of them are very natural. They can just pick up the thing and then they just make a very nice and good sound. So for those, you don't explain too much already because the more detail you go into, they get confused and then they go to lose it. Yeah. Another thing is like sometimes when we talk about grip, a lot of them will just bite the top and the bottom this way, and it's not very helpful. So I always tell my students, like for example, you visualize that you have a rubber band and you want to tie it over the bottle. Then after that, all the pressure applied to the bottle, right, from the rubber band will be equal, right? So that's how our mouth should work when we are gripping the clarinet.
Equal pressure.
Yeah.
Because it's not, it's always the top and the bottom.
Like another exercise, if you put your thumb on your upper teeth and you close your mouth and you try to blow, there's actually air coming out. But if you do the reverse, you put your thumb on your lower teeth and then you use your upper teeth to bite and then you blow, suddenly it's stuck. Yeah, so it's always and then there's no way of. So it's the same logic with the mouthpiece. Yeah.
Sorry.
For beginners also have to be careful because sometimes they don't know that their lower lip have to roll over a bit to cover the lower teeth, right? They just have their teeth touching the reed and then it doesn't produce a sound or they squeak. And then and then sometimes they use a lot of air. So they just so like these are some things you need to take care of when you're teaching the beginners.
So roll lips, focus equal pressure around the lips, and then also not really biting on top, right? So like you're pushing towards the upper teeth. So
yeah.
Well,
if your mouthpieces have mouthpiece patches, you can actually afford to put a little bit more pressure. Yeah. So don't just rest your teeth there because that's really the anchor point. Yeah, because the whole support of your clarinet is really just your upper teeth and your thumb. Yeah, so both have to work together. Yeah.
Right.
But the rolling of lower lip cannot entirely in also because I have people like go then they can't play. So it's like just find a balance.
Basically test and see what works for them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about tone. What's a good clarinet tone in your opinion? So like a seasoned tone that maybe band students should aim for, and then let's give it to them realistically. How long will it take, to reach there?
The tone is forever
developing.
And evolving.
Okay.
So sometimes you have a stagnant phase where your tone is just crap for a long time. Yeah, so sometimes that might be because your mouthpiece has already been for 15, 20 years. So you need a change. Yeah. And sometimes it's just a bad day, really.
Yeah.
You just have to accept it. Yeah. But my advice for a lot of the students is go and listen to professionals, because even professional clarinetists all sound different.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to find the perfect sound that you like and try to work towards that. And if you keep practicing every day, the tone should get better every day, like 5 minutes. Yeah, don't just cram 1 hour for one day and then you rest for the whole week. Yeah, the best is every day you do 5-10 minutes and then you upkeep. It's just building the muscles. Yeah, and eventually something will just click and then the sound will stay. And then when you get better, you can actually play around with the tone colors for different pieces that you play. Yeah, so it's all constantly evolving. There's no one perfect sound. Of course, whatever sounds the best to you, I think for now that's the most important, especially for students. Yeah, because we're just playing in bands. We're not solo clarinetists. Yeah.
Gena?
But ideally, if you're in a band setting, and for example, your principal player is the one that have the best tone that you want the whole section to sound like him. So what I can do is to encourage them to play and listen to this person. First is to blend. Don't play louder than the person, and when the person goes soft, don't play soft. Don't play like too loud. Yeah, just basically keep it just below, so they can always blend. So eventually, after a while of them interacting and playing together for a long time, it's not once a week kind. It's like they have to actively practice lah.
Yeah.
And it's not just during full band. It's very important. I think sectionals are really important and the best time to build your tone with the other player. So it spreads within the section. And then how you structure your section is also very important. You don't put all the strong players to the first clarinet because the whole first clarinet is going to sound the same and strong, and you can't hear the other parts, which is very important. So it's very important to split the parts equally so that the sound gets passed on to the other players as well. And the concept is very important. Yeah. So I think that's the fastest way to solve like how do my sections sound together. Also different band directors have different preference. Some of them like very bright clarinet sound. And then some of them like very dark, not so showy and stuff like that. So it really depends on like which group you're in, what kind of sound your conductor wants and all.
Yeah. It's also possible that the first clarinet, second clarinet, and third clarinet, like the best players, they try to match their tones. And then the individual part leaders will spread to the rest instead of whole section just following one person. Yeah, so we have like 3 leaders, and then the 3 leaders will influence the rest. Yeah, which is what, at least in my community band, we do. So every part has a leader, and then you influence the rest. Yeah.
So basically, like summary is just having a reference sound that and then have an imagination of like how that sound is gonna be and how you can work towards producing that sound.
It's not even an imagination thing because you hear it.
Okay.
So you just aim, and try to follow that. Yeah. Or you can just switch around the leaders and then you just play around. Because the whole section sound can always change. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think sometimes it's also understanding that the instrument setup could make a big difference in the tone as well. Like if you're like what Danielle said just now, the mouthpiece or your reed is just like war, and so you can just never make a good sound. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So that's let's talk about the last main topic for our main session today, articulation. So let's just talk about maybe just starting your first note, about like what do you do with your tongue and how do you create that sound?
I think this is very also another very difficult to teach thing because some people just can do it, and then there are some who just don't. Okay, those people can do it naturally. Usually, I leave them at what they are comfortable with first. Then we have the different syllables, and I believe a lot of people are using very different syllables. It's like we have ta, ta, or tu, or ti. But I feel it changes depending on which range of the clarinet you're playing, and also what type of clarinet you're playing.
Okay.
So, for example, if I'm going to use the E flat, I'm going to use a ta tonguing, and then it's going to sound all very language. Like very different. Yeah.
So Okay, assuming like we have a group of beginners now. So
Yeah.
how would you get them to, start their first note and then playing multiple
Yeah.
like ta 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 ta. So assuming they have good breath and support.
Yeah.
Mm.
So usually I have two different theories of how to articulate. So the first one is where you turn on the tap
Yeah.
and there's water flowing. So now you imagine that there's water flowing, and then you want to use your finger to just cut the water.
Okay.
Whatever you do, the water is still flowing, and then you're just cutting. And that's like, even if you chop, the water will still flow. Yeah, so this is like how it affects the way it sounds.
Mm.
And then another theory is, imagine you have a basketball in your hand, and then you release. So when you release, the ball touches the ground and it bounces back, right?
Yeah.
And if you now slam the ball down, it will still fly up.
Yeah.
So whatever happens, the tongue will always come back to the original position. Yeah. So imagine your tongue is like that now, and you articulate, it will come back. It won't be stuck, and it won't stay there.
Yeah.
It's not like you're dropping a raw egg and then it just splash and cracks. Yeah. So the tongue is always it's like a rebound action.
Mm.
Yeah. So then with that constant air flowing, with the chopping, and then you bounce the. Yeah. So there's always air, and the air is the thing that really helps the articulation, not just the tongue.
Mm.
Yeah. Because a lot of times we just think, oh, articulation means more tongue. Sometimes it's actually more air than more tongue.
Tongue. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think one of the things that I used to tell like the students as well, you don't think of it as tonguing, because when you think of it as tonguing, it's like you're using your tongue to like attack a certain place. So like you use, like you're controlling your tongue to like ta 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 ta.
Yeah.
Instead, it's more like what you said, like a basketball kind of idea, where you're actually releasing rather than attacking.
Yeah, or it's just a disruption of airflow. That's it.
Disruption of airflow.
Yeah, it's really not so much of what the tongue. Yeah, because even if you don't use any tongue and you push more air, it will be a harsh articulation anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you use the tongue to aid. That's just air. Yeah, so you use the tongue to control a little bit of the flow. That's it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you, as conductors, well, I don't know whether you probably don't really conduct like really young bands, right? Is there a uniform, like, I know for different pieces, you start the piece differently. So sometimes you want like with tongue, sometimes without tongue.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah?
So as a conductor, you have to ask for, just tell the students, just don't use the tongue when you enter, or use a little bit more tongue to help. Yeah.
Just a little more tongue to help.
Because when you're more proficient, even if you don't use your tongue and you're supposed to, nobody can tell. Yeah. Yeah, just one of the tricks of playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially if there's like 20 of us, nobody will know if you're playing or not.
Exactly. I think there's always one question that comes to mind is that do clarinetists actually use air attack instead of tongue sometimes? They do.
Yes.
In what context maybe you can give like a for instance?
If it's like a long legato phrase, and then you need to re-articulate certain things.
Yeah. So like repeating notes, is that what you mean? Oh no, not the kind.
It could be repeated notes, but it can also be just like emphasizing the notes within the phrase.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll try to demonstrate. Or do you hear the difference?
Of it, yeah. So it's sort of a placement.
It's a little bit, yeah.
All right. Gena, is there anything else to you want to add in terms of articulation?
Okay. Sometimes when I try to teach articulation, I feel that it might be easier to teach with the instrument. So, for example, like you want your kids to try, right? They can try blowing air into the instrument without making a sound. So you let them do this like.
All right.
Then you ask them to say two.
Two.
So say two without the sound as well. So you just blow air. And
Oh, okay,
so
you can
when you
hear
say
it.
two, you know the way the tongue moves, and then when you add in air, like if first you do it slowly, then after that you monitor. I think this one has to do one to one. It's easier to hear like I don't know if you all can hear like.
Yeah, we can.
So for this, you will know whether they are tonguing properly or not. Because I do have friends, right, who are really pretty good players, but then they are always using air tonguing. And sometimes you can't really tell. If you're playing in a section, you can't really tell.
Yeah.
And then until you listen to them like really closely, they be, what? How come it doesn't work together? Then yeah. So like for beginners, I think this is quite easy for them to understand like how to tongue. I feel.
Yeah, I think sometimes we also do it like so we do the exercises that you just did, so without the instrument first. So we just either do or like just have that kind. We know when they play a certain phrase, and we want to make sure that their articulation is uniform. So you get them to do it without the instrument first, so they don't have to remember the fingerings and the notes. And then after that, once they're able to get everything uniform, then add on the instrument, but do the same thing without playing the notes. Yeah, and then after that, try to play on a concert B flat or a concert F, just to make sure everyone's uniform, and then slowly add in the notes to make sure. Yeah, I think that's one of the ways that we can do it as well.
Yeah, but also sometimes when you do the tss, there's unnecessary tension. So you also have to do it properly. Yeah, because with these sizzling exercises, the air is slightly different because the resistance is different. When you have the mouthpiece versus tss, is a much higher tension than with the clarinet itself. Yeah. So when you do tss, we actually don't need so much like air pressure to play the clarinet to produce the sound. Yeah.
But your tongue also moves very differently from how you play an instrument when you're doing the tss as well. But it also varies between different instruments.
Yeah.
Like there's no like one method fits all instruments.
Exactly.
Also.
Yeah. That's true. We've got a question from the comments there. For a beginner, what is the perfect routine to produce a good tone? I think we sort of kind of answered that. Okay, maybe a routine. So should they start with like maybe long tones or like, you know, start your day with listening to good music?
Always do long tones. Yeah.
Always long tones.
Should they be practicing for tuner, you think? Or like a drone, or you know, what's the best way to go about?
Maybe the beginning is to have a tuner just to see how sharp or flat you are. Yeah, because you don't want to be playing flat all the time. And then when you play with other people, suddenly I have to play a different way. Yeah, so you need to know your tendencies on the instruments. Yeah, how sharp or flat.
Oh yeah, because some clarinets aren't necessarily well made in a sense. Yeah. As in, that's one of the problems that we kind of find. If you don't have like the standard so-called Yamaha or like, you know, the better quality ones, you really struggle a lot trying to find the right intonation. All right.
Yeah. But we have to always remind beginners or anybody actually, when you always practice with the metronome. Because then you learn how to start and end properly. Yeah. Etc. Because I also see a lot of students, right? They just like to just sustain notes or play things or play through a piece or like, you know, etudes without the metronome. So that's quite scary because it cultivates. You keep practicing wrong, like bad habits lah. So you end up having like more things to correct than you had to in the beginning. To begin with. Yeah.
Or even wrong rhythms. Because when you don't have a metronome, you just play and you think it's right. Yeah.
Yeah. True. And I think even practicing like articulation as well, it's really good to work with a metronome because otherwise your tongue will be like da 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 da.
Yeah.
Wow, it's such a difficult muscle to control. Okay.
It's a constant struggle as a clarinetist to articulate. Even after playing for so many years, it's still a struggle.
It is. We've got another question. How to practice to play articulation more clear and clean? So for example, staccato.
Yeah. Air.
Making sure that it's constant. That's not choppy.
Like what kind of staccatos? Because it can be just a single note. Like, could you hear if I was using my tongue or not?
Not exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Really
So
Yeah.
yeah, so like the first three I was using only air. Yeah, and sometimes we can we are cheating the system basically. So
Yeah. Exactly.
which eventually you create bad habits because then you rely on your air and you don't use your tongue. So they actually have to be working in tandem. Yeah. So if
That's
you
true.
like I was using one set of just tongue and then another set just air.
Yeah.
So
Is it consistent?
you
Yeah.
can hear the difference, but you can actually physically see the difference as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of times you see this moving from the students, then it's not right. Because then they are doing the who instead of
Yeah.
using
That's the
the
one.
tongue. Yeah, so you have to always use internal. Yeah, so just work like you imagine playing a long note scale. If you add the tongue, it will become louder. Yeah, so if you just play long stuff, even if you have super articulated studies, just play them very slow and
Slowly
play
build up,
them
right?
as like long tones and articulate.
Good
Yeah.
point. Okay, we've got one question. So this person has been playing the clarinet for 4 years and then started again after a 1 year gap. And he's been playing for 2 months now after the break. However, he realizes that when he tried to tongue his B and the C, so the ones right after the bridge, the break,
Yeah.
the notes doesn't come out as clean. So like when they tongue, it is airy initially, then the notes come out. So it's like, you know. The person is thinking whether it is because of the reed embouchure or not enough air support.
It could be air speed. After a while, yeah. It could be stamina and air speed. So maybe the person can try doing some long tones on those first. Don't rush into playing articulated stuff yet. Just start to get the thing first. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if
It
it
also
answers.
might be a tone hole issue that is not sealing. So there are a couple of factors that we have to look at. Yeah, because unless you know the instrument has zero problems, then it might be airstream or your reed is not placed properly.
Would it be like that you're not covering the right, like the holes properly as well? Also,
Possible.
the reason, right?
Yeah, or you're not sealing enough.
You can try the lower register, the low E and F first to check, I think.
Yeah.
It still works. Yeah. Because it's the same fingering anyway. It's just then you know
Adding
whether
the
it's because of
register
that.
key.
Yeah. So the person who asked the question, try your low E and F first, see whether there's any leaks.
Yeah, because if it should be okay. Yeah, if we just add a register key, unless it even if you press, it should actually work. Yeah, because it's like a squeak on the low E to produce the B. Technically, it's a squeak.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
maybe
should
try to
be
use
okay,
faster air speed first, lah.
Yeah.
Use faster
the
air speed.
air. Yeah.
So that would be. Yeah. Do you think that's a common problem actually, right? So when they try to cross over to the break, which we'll be talking about later for the FAQs. When they try to cross over to the break, it's always this is one of the common difficulties that starting out clarinetists face, right? So that's okay. So go ahead.
For me, it's not such an issue because I have bigger hands. Yeah, but maybe for like Gena, you can because the hands are quite small, and the clarinet is actually way bigger than mine.
Yeah, I'm using a reciter, summer reciter, so it's like thicker. Okay, like because I think a lot of like younger players, especially the maybe 13, 14 when we're just starting out, most of us, we can't really reach here. And then some of them, like my fingers are still quite fat lah. There are some people with really skinny fingers that they can poke through the tone hole. I don't know how. I don't even know how. Just make sure that the
yeah.
kids are covering properly. I think it's very important. So what you I usually try to encourage like a C, like a C. Yeah. Then when you hold it, of course you make sure that they are not too tense. Just make sure you relax. It's like when I put something on, then it still holds. You see. Then the height of the thumb rest is quite important also, because sometimes if it's too low, then we have a tension here.
Definitely,
You see,
yeah.
if it's too high, and then we also have a weird angle, and this will cause problem eventually to your thumb when you're holding on the instrument. So the next thing you can check, right, for younger players is you can ask them to hold the instrument, use a bit of pressure, don't need to play, just press, and then wait
Oh, they should have.
You can see like I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't really see.
Can't
You
really
can
see.
see like little circles. Then you can see whether they are covering properly. And then sometimes you realize that some people use the tip, and then that's one of the reasons why they couldn't.
Oh yeah, see, then also.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, but like some people got the fingernails. Then you got I don't know how to do it, but then you just make sure that they cover properly, and then like the fattest part of the finger.
Yeah.
The fattest part of the top part of the finger, right, covers the whole well. And then next thing you do for younger players, right, is when I'm playing my throat notes, always keep your right hand down. So I'll always be on standby on the next note that I will play. So eventually, like keep my right hand down, then then just move quick.
Yeah.
And then always keep your fingers as close to the keys as possible, without covering too much also, because it also affects the tuning. But then some people also, like after a while, if they're more advanced, right, you're also careful about the tuning of your throat notes. So how many holes you cover and how you cover also affects the tuning also.
All right. So these are all very interesting and like good tips that we will talk about in a bit. So right now, let's have one. No, it's okay. We have a 1 minute break. So we'll upload a short summary of what we talked about, of the main points, and then we move into FAQs. So if you guys have any questions, just keep them coming in, and we try to answer them as many as we can. We'll not be able to answer all of them. So after this, Daniel and Gena might be able to answer like via comments, commenting or replying to your comments. All right.
Yeah, keep the questions coming.
See you in 1 minute. All right, we're back live. So we've got a few questions coming from the Facebook comment section. Just keep them coming, all right, guys, so that we can answer them while we're here. So one of the question is how to prevent squeaking and how do you play slur smoothly? So yeah, this is one of the common things that we face in a lot of starting out bands, starting out clarinetists, that they tend to squeak. What's the common problem for that?
Lack
I think
of
it's
practice.
No, I have to justify. Sometimes you grip too hard.
Yeah.
And for me, I think like it happens to me too, honestly, like at very unnecessary crucial points in the performance. And it happens because I move too much also. So the position of the clarinet changes and then the grip, then after that the squeak happen. So yeah.
And
Yeah. Sometimes
it
like
could either be too tight or too loose.
Oh yeah, I was about to say also.
Yeah. So the extremes can be the cause of the squeak. Yeah.
What about the reed placement? Like if it's like slightly slanted, do you get squeaks from that as well?
I think so.
Could be.
It depends on what. Yeah. If like beginners when they overblow, while they always squeak.
Yeah.
Overflow.
Yeah.
Like if we just
Yeah.
on the open G, which happens a lot. Yeah, then it's almost because you're putting too much air and biting too hard. Yeah.
Or if you never cover the holes properly, right? Or entirely, right? It also leads to squeak sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Because you have to understand that the squeaks are actually the overtones. Yeah. So it's a little bit too chim to explain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the gist of the squeaks.
Yeah. I mean, don't be afraid of squeaking. I think that's a natural process of like learning.
It's part of,
Yeah. But definitely find out why you squeaked in the first place and then try to find out and solve it as you go along. It's part of the learning process. I think probably every clarinetist that I know has in one way or another squeaked before.
For sure.
I think even professionals sometimes.
Yeah, even in their practice, I've heard professional squeaks.
Exactly.
Yeah, but of course in the concerts, they don't.
Yeah,
but during practice, of course, sometimes it will happen. Yeah.
Well, what about when the reed is like too dry? So if you left it there, like if you have to swap instruments and stuff, you left it there for too long, and then it dries up. Is that a cause of squeaking?
Could also be. Yeah. Or sometimes it's if you play for too long and then there's a build-up of moisture as well. Yeah. So it's always the extremes: too dry, too wet, too tight, too loose. Yeah.
So there's many factors, right?
Yeah.
All right. I hope that answers the question. I've got another question. Why is it difficult for my high notes to come out, and the sound is annoying? Like the person that probably doesn't have good tone in the higher registers. Why do you think that is the case?
I think first you need to check your airspeed, and then also your grip. Because sometimes when we get a bit more nervous when we are playing higher notes, right? Especially when it's written like mezzo piano or piano. And then after we tend to grip a bit harder, and then you can't produce a sound. As in, or you tend to squeak when you go, or if you compromise your airspeed. Yeah.
Compromise your airspeed.
Yeah. Don't compromise your airspeed.
Because if you're too loose and you push a lot of air, you always sound like that. Yeah, so you can push the same amount of pressure, but a little bit more embouchure. Yeah, so which happens a lot, especially for the high C. It doesn't come out. Yeah, so you need a little bit of support always. Yeah, always. Yeah, then that will always happen. It's also like the same with the extremes. If it's too loose, too much air. Yeah.
Like I think we always have to pay attention to how we play. So like sometimes when we are playing the higher register, we are not aware, right? Then we tend to puff cheek and then our chin not flat. Then we like Then we use the form, and then it squeaks, and then the tone get compromised also.
We do get a lot of that kind of sound from beginners actually. We do realize,
Yes.
they're coming from so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because sometimes we tell them to like push more or more air, and then after that, they also don't know what to do on the spot, right? So they tend to just give it all without thinking, without planning through. You know, sometimes you're conducting, then after you just like, give me more, and then they just
without
so
controlling.
So I always think about sealing rather than what perfect embouchure you should have. So just seal and make sure the full capacity of air goes through the instrument.
Right. We've got another sort of related question. I think it's a multi-part. So this is how the question goes. For beginners who when they're shifting from a low register to the middle register, there tends to be undertones. I think you guys sort of understand that what it means. Undertones. And how do you suggest to practice to improve on the high notes? And then when this person usually play the low registers and check with the tuner it's in tune. But when it comes to the middle register and the high register, it's always too sharp. So it's the opposite of the question that we asked before. Okay, let's do it maybe like part by part. So the first one, when moving from low to middle register, there tends to be like undertones.
Low to middle, like middle as in the which range? The
First or second?
Maybe that one.
The second register.
Probably like the lower part of like maybe B, C, that area. So it's
Is that?
Yeah, maybe something like that. Right?
Can't be the right. I don't think it's
Yeah, probably that one. Yeah. Why is there
a little bit
undertone?
of grip, a little bit more grip. Yeah, because if I just play the high C, if I do too relaxed, that will be the high C will not speak. And if I do the reverse, if I bite too much, it will. I mean that's the extreme lah. So that can be a way to check as well. Yeah, if you're overbiting, then you squeak. If it's at least for the high notes, then if you're not biting enough, you will not speak enough. Yeah, so just adjust a little of your lower lip or lower teeth pressure a little bit and experiment and see what happens.
Because you really sorry. You also want to check your air speed. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, air speed and the embouchure always work together.
Yeah, if it's too slow or like too big, right, then after that the undertone will come out like the. So you have to have faster air speed into the instrument.
And especially if you have to go even higher, then you will not speak. Yeah, it won't speak. Yeah, so you need always a little, like a lot of people will talk about voicing, which I think saxophones do a lot.
Yeah.
With the voicing. But I think as clarinetists, we don't deal with the topic of voicing too much. Yeah, because for clarinets, I think if you really press the correct fingerings and you push the amount of air, it will naturally speak. Yeah, so we don't really have to actively adjust too much, or at least I advocate not adjusting too many things while you play, especially for beginning students, because there's too much to handle. Yeah, if you're more advanced, of course, then you can talk about fine-tuning certain things. But in general, I think with the band education, we just need to talk about things more general. Yeah.
More general.
Yeah, unless you're more advanced players, then you tell them more advanced things.
Yeah, I think for beginners, we also have to remember like you really have to practice. But then in order to sound nice and have a nice tone and everything, right? And for the notes to come out nicely, everything, you have to go through the phase that you really explore what's the most comfortable for you. Because we say all these things, right? It differs from various people because of our T structure, mouth structure and everything, and our SP and everything, and our size or whatever. But the thing is, when you're playing, you've got to, especially when the higher register, every time we see a higher register, we kind of get this like very stressed out and everything, and then we cramp and become smaller, and then we don't dare to play out. So I think you need to conquer that, just play. It will sound like crap for the first few times when you're trying to hit those notes, but after you practice long tones with those notes and everything, right, it will gradually get better because you learn better control, and the embouchure is more fixed and more like set for it. Yeah. Always be ready to play the higher notes when you are playing. Yeah.
I think part of the thing as like when we're teaching, right, we try not to use the word like, we try not to use the phrase higher notes because to them it feels like, oh, it's something that I have to reach for.
Yeah.
As in I know a lot like with different ways of saying, as in what I usually do is just you need a different mechanism to reach that note essentially. Like you can't play your low notes the way you play the higher notes, you know what I mean? So it's just experimenting and finding out what works for them. Because as in not just for clarinets, as in for like even brass and stuff, like they think as higher notes and I have to push harder to reach. And it's, I don't know, I think that could be one of the a way to change either your mindset if it helps you. So the next part of the question is usually, okay, I think it relates to the answer that you guys gave. When they play low registers, it's in tune, but when it comes to the middle and higher register, it's always too sharp. Why is that the case?
I think sometimes it could be the mechanism of the instrument also. I think if it's just some alignment that's off, right, it affects a lot on the tuning as well. Just like some keypads not covered properly, or like the height of the keypads. So some of it is higher. Yeah, especially after you play for a while, right? After the thing will start to misalign for a bit. And then two, also the tendency of the instrument also. Like for clarinets, usually our certain notes are pretty sharp. And then you just have to compromise. One, you can compromise by adjusting your embouchure, but not too much also. And then sometimes we use alternate fingerings.
That comes from experience.
Because like with the saxophones, your open C sharp.
Oh, terrible.
It's always very sharp. And right. And then your long D is also always very sharp.
Oh yeah, that is very sharp.
Yeah, so I mean some of the instrumental tendencies are like that. Yeah, you just have to live with it and then you adjust accordingly. Yeah, because it is not a piano where even the piano goes out of tune.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so we are not a well-tempered instrument. Yeah, so the instrument because of acoustic properties, the whole physical aspect of the frequencies and the tendencies will always differ. Yeah, so this is something you just have to know, and every instrument is different. Yeah, so definitely. Same model, same brand, every piece is different.
Yeah.
So you have to get used to it, and yeah, this is where practice comes in.
Unfortunately, that would be the case.
Then you also want to check your grip. Sometimes when you speak of the higher register, right, we also grip too tight.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What about pushing too hard? Do you think that would be like an issue? Like if they play the low notes and then they use this really resonant, like full breath, and then when they play the high notes, they try to do the same thing. Would it go sharper?
Actually, it will go flatter.
Flatter.
Yeah. At least for clarinets, if the same embouchure with the high notes as you do for the low notes, it will become very flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the air pressure doesn't support the tuning.
Right.
And check your reed. I also check your reed, because if your reed is too old, right, then naturally you will just go haywire also your tuning. So just don't use something that's already aging. Yeah.
Or too new also.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's always the extremes. Too old, too new, too much, too little.
It's like a lot of problems that we have always boils down to the V, SP, grip and everything. Even though like different kind of questions, so always goes back to a few.
Yeah, all the same fundamentals.
Yeah, and I'm not sure.
Right. Relating to this issue, there's another person who asked this question. What are your opinions on tongue position? Can we use a high tongue position for all registers?
No.
High tongue.
Like,
the short answer is no.
No.
Yeah. And I would think this person who asked the question is more advanced. Yeah, so with regards to tongue position, I don't think we have enough time to.
That would
yeah.
relate to voicing, right?
Yeah, that's more voicing. So I think a short answer is low notes, low tongue, and high notes, higher tongue position.
Yeah.
So it's the same, the rise and the fall. Yeah,
I think
that's the short answer.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really depends on the notes as well and
Yeah.
the tone color, I think. But in band, what I usually do, like for our band, is that when you play like a lower note, so we go in like different levels. So it's O, I, he. So when you do that, your tongue just slowly rises. Yeah, and then we try to experiment with like, when we do interval exercises like da da da, we do E O A, depending on how. But that's the band method, lah. If you want to go into like really professional, I think they have. It's really subjective, I think.
Yeah. Because I don't deal so much with the tongue positions.
Yeah.
I always keep it neutral. Yeah.
Neutral.
I don't know a lot of my clarinet friends who does a lot of tongue position changes, but I don't. So
it depends also.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Interesting one. When I was a beginner, my senior always told me to dip my reed in hot water for a few minutes to soften the reed. Is this practice correct?
No.
I've heard of this before as well. There's warm water as well.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah. No?
No.
I don't do that.
Yeah.
So both of you just, like, as you mentioned, is just like licking it, like dipping it in your...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it's too hard and it still doesn't work, then you probably need to change your reed size.
Yeah.
It's like that the reed is too hard for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for beginners.
Yeah, so a short answer, no, don't do that.
Yeah, never hot water.
Never hot
It's
water.
not a steamboat.
Cook your reeds.
Yeah. Yeah, don't... Like, you wouldn't dip your hand in hot water, so why would you do it with your reed?
There's a lot of effort. Every time you want to play, you have to boil water.
And you should find hot water. So yeah, I think you got to find the best setting, right? Interesting. Yeah, which brings to the next question. How do you choose a reed that suits yourself? And how do you know whether the reed is suitable to continue using or not?
I think most importantly is when you're playing, right, it feels comfortable for you. Like some people prefers to have resistance and some people prefers free blowing. It's like nothing at all, just like as easy as But sometimes when we're hitting different registers, right, we also need that characteristic of the cane to support us, you see. So like it depends on also what sound you want to get also. Yeah. It's like there's no right and wrong answer or like a definite answer that works for everybody.
Yeah. Comfort, I think, is number one. If you have to put in too much effort to play your instrument, then maybe it's a little bit too hard. Yeah. Or if you feel like it's totally effortless and the sound is suddenly off, then maybe it's too thin.
Then if to know the age of the instrument, if it the reed, right, sometimes it becomes too stuffy after you play for a while. Because the residues start to grow, like start to stay on the reed, right? So yeah.
Yeah. And the fibers and the pores of the reed are affected already. Yeah, like sometimes if you play the reed for too long, you'll see discoloration on the tip of the reed. Like it becomes very, very faded. And it looks like dead wood.
Yes, it becomes like darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then maybe it's time to change.
Yeah. And it's so humid, like wherever we are, so it's like always good to review.
Oh yeah, that's true. All right, I think we have time for one more question. Okay, do you guys want to, depending on which question you want to answer, so there's one is how do you double tongue on the clarinet? Or you want to talk about throat tones and other useful fingerings?
Gena, maybe you talk about the throat notes.
Yeah, okay, for throat notes, right? I think
what are
I
throat
mentioned
notes?
a bit. Huh?
What are throat notes?
Right? Throat notes are your G, G sharp, A, B flat. So okay, so there are like many like okay, for G, for example, like I will cover. It depends on your instrument and your tendencies also. That's why you need to sit down and practice and with a tuner to check your tendencies. So check if it's too sharp, then sometimes we just cover the full right hand. It depends on how many holes you cover and everything to get the correct tuning also. Like and then for B flat, I always try to use the alternate B flat. So it's basically the A plus this key. So it's full, and I cover a few now. So that instead of if this is the regular fingering, and so I think it's quite convenient. We are in a quite convenient generation now. So if you have doubts, right, you can also Google to see alternative fingerings, because I find those things really, really helpful. And then most importantly is to know what kind of tone you want to produce on the instrument. Yeah. Sometimes also we are very fixated with the tuning too. Then it doesn't help when you're playing the band setting, because our tuning also varies. So you have to know what to adjust and when to adjust. So always keep your ears open.
Yeah. And also when we play the throat tones, we're only using this part of the clarinet. So by adding more fingers, we're actually utilizing the whole tube of the clarinet. Yeah, like contrary to a lot of people thinking, they always think the sound comes out from the bell.
Yeah.
But no, only the low E and the B comes out from the bell. So wherever we release, wherever there are available tone holes, the sound comes out from those. Yeah. So if you open the G, the sound actually comes out from the thumb. Yeah. So when we play the throat tones, if we add more fingers, it will actually force the air down to the bell. That's what we want. Yeah. So it resonates the whole tube of the instrument.
I've actually got a document that I sent before. It's by Bakun. I think it's a good resource. Let me just share. So if you can see over here, so these are recommendations for like fingerings for open G. It's like there are a few, and then the kind of effect that you can get, like a dark, clear, and focused fingering, good for transitions. A flat, A. So there's a few fingerings in here that you can try to experiment with, I'd say, but they're not like a full universal like application kind of thing. So you have to go to figure out and see what works for your
on your own instrument.
Okay. Okay, I'll just share this document in the comment section below so that you guys can download it after this.
Yes.
Okay, I think that is the end of today's session. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Gena and Daniel. I think it was quite informative and it was fun as well. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just keep your comments and your questions coming, and we'll answer them offline.
Exactly.
Yeah, so just keep them coming. Thanks for having us.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys next time. Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.